Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Here. Present. Here.
Here.
Readers?
Here.
Montezor?
Here.
Chirilis?
Here.
Teeling?
Here.
Quorum is established.
Any amendments to tonight's agenda? Yes, sir.
I'd like to remove number 4 on the consent agenda and move it to Public Works.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor of amending the agenda as presented, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentations, we're just going to do the comp plan presentation under the Planning and Zoning Commission report. Okay. No public hearings, any citizen comments on items that are on the agenda this evening? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Closima?
Aye.
Wilczewski?
Aye.
Chirilis?
Aye.
Readers?
Aye.
Montezor?
Aye.
Coe?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Hut?
Aye.
Passes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of July 26th, 2016, and August 9th, 2016, as presented.
So moved.
Comments, questions, or corrections on the minutes? Any corrections on minutes? All those in favor of approving as presented, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, on our mayor's report, I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving an amendment to project agreement OS 13-1864 with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, one-year extension for the Bicentennial Riverfront Park Grant, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second. Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have some excitement. This is exciting. Woo! Yes, we got two.
Any more moves before we move on?
Charlo, move with the people.
I'm not wooing.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hut?
Aye.
Readers? Chirilis?
Set of
Aye.
Closima?
Aye.
Montezor?
Aye.
Wilczewski?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Coe?
Aye.
Passes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving an amendment to project agreement OS 14-1905 with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, one-year extension for the Bristol Bay 65 grant, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved. Second.
Comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Two moves.
Any more moves? Roll call, please.
Readers? Chirilis?
Aye.
Closima?
Aye.
Montezor?
Aye.
Wilczewski?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Coe?
Aye.
Hut?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and I will hand it up to Alderman Funkhauser for a Public Works Committee report, which consists of number 4 of the consent agenda, PW 2016-56.
We have a motion to approve ordinance amending the city code as it relates to weeds and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess I think when we initially discussed this a few years ago, I had the same concerns and then it wasn't put in, so I didn't care. Now it's put in. I've always had an issue with the city requiring people to maintain right-of-ways that they don't own. How do we justify that? From their property line through the right-of-way, we're amending it so that they have to maintain the right-of-way. But they don't own it, so how can we require citizens to maintain property that's not theirs?
It is a common requirement among.
I know it's
other
common,
codes.
But they are the beneficiary of the,
so why don't we require them to shovel the snow on the street in front of their house, and then we don't have to plow anymore? Why don't we require, you know what I mean? It's like, where do we draw the line?
because they're not, because the street being plowed is to the safety and benefit of the community. The care of your parkway in front of your home gives you expanded setbacks, expanded places, so that's why it's so common. It's a benefit.
I know it's common, but common doesn't always necessarily mean right.
Many towns also require a certain number of trees in your parkway,
Right.
in addition to maintenance.
Sure, I get it, but just because other people do it doesn't mean it's necessarily right. I guess I'd like to hear what the other element think. Maybe I'm sitting on an island all by myself, but I have a real hard time with requiring people to maintain property that's not theirs. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I legitimately do. Yes, sir.
As someone who has always maintained that right-of-way, my issue is that in my neighborhood, we got a bunch of trees taken down, and now the HOA wants us to replace the trees that weren't our responsibility in the first place, and if I don't replace them, I get a fine, but in the original PUD, it says that the developer himself would put these trees in and maintain them. So now I have to replace it at my expense.
Yeah, but that's your HOA telling you to do that, not us.
But we both had issues with our right-of-way, so I think we should take this up with our respective aldermen.
You should. Call your alderman.
I'll do it right now.
Well, there's a difference there. Your right-of-way is not owned by the city,
Not yet.
therefore not owned by the taxpayers. Yours and mine are owned by the taxpayers, so I do own a fair share of that. And when I built my house, I understand what the obligations are, and at the time I built my house, this was an obligation or criteria that I was to maintain it. I mean, you are agreeing,
It's not a lien on your property.
no, but you are agreeing to the codes that are in place when you
I bought
occupy that right.
I bought my house 6 months ago. This code wasn't in place.
Well, we do a lot of work.
I didn't agree to anything.
Well, most people don't agree to it, but it's one of them. I mean, you do own it to a percentage, or you own all the city.
So why don't we make the citizens mow our parks? They own it. Let the citizens come out and mow our parks. We can save all this money on.
As Becky said, it's for the common benefit.
Right.
We can-
Mowing our parks would be for the common benefit. So residents, grab your mowers and come on out. Let's start mowing our. I don't know. I just think it's.
So if citizens don't maintain the
Inequitable.
parkways, are you proposing the city maintains all the parkways, cuts all the grass in front of people's houses?
If it's in the parkway, it's not on their property, how can we require them and fine them with a punitive fine if they maintain property, if they refuse to maintain property that is not theirs? That is a very difficult pill for me to swallow.
We require them to maintain a certain curb appeal to their property.
Sure.
If not, we will fine them and mean their property, whatnot. It's kind of the opposite spectrum. It's their property, but we are imposing a rule against their property as
Right.
compared to, we want you to maintain the city property.
Right. And that I can,
Quid pro quo.
and that I can swallow because obviously we have building codes and requirements and I get all that. But we're requiring them to maintain property that they do not own.
But how can we
I
require
find-
the owner of the building to maintain that?
To me, it's two different arguments. We have building codes, we have requirements for property owners. I get that. It's their property, we can regulate how they maintain their property. I get that government has that power. I think government crosses the line when we require them to maintain property they do not own. You don't own my lawn, so come over and mow my lawn. It's for the benefit of the city of Yorkville. Mow my lawn once a week, that'd be great, thank you. I think Diane wants to say something. Diane, go ahead.
Why don't we just do a study then to find out how much it's gonna cost to maintain this parkways and then fit it in our budget and raise taxes so we can maintain that property then?
I think a lot of people, I think it would cost a lot of money, and I think a lot of people will maintain their parkways whether we require it or not. I have a
So
inherent
that's your
problem
point.
with
You just don't want
government
it to be in the.
mandating it. I'm gonna mow I'm gonna mow my median in my cul-de-sac, the island if I have to, I don't care. The point is, there's a difference between maintaining and being forced to maintain.
So then
And
when
Kathy
people
thinks I'm
don't
being
do it,
funny.
then we just
No,
send someone else to mow it.
it's the benefit thing.
But a lot of things benefit the citizens. Let's make them do those
Not,
things too.
your parkway in front of your home doesn't benefit your neighbor.
Well, I guess I just wanted to hear what the other aldermen think, because when I read it, I think it's inherently wrong. Obviously,
Well, I understand.
that's why
what
we
you're
have a
saying.
democracy and we vote.
I understand what you're saying, but I
I
mean,
would
the
call it.
alternative is we mow them and we, I mean, the.
Well, I think the alternative is most people will mow it without being required to do so.
I think, I agree, I consider mine to begin with, but technically you're right, the city owns it, but yeah, I mow it and I would want it not mowed, I guess, in my case.
Do we have a problem with this? I mean, are there people mowing their lawn and not mowing the parkway?
There have been from time to time in the past. And it allows you basically to go out and, there might be a problem area where it's less of a benefit. It's not right in front of somebody's house, so I don't think they have to maintain it, but it is actually within their lot. So it would help us to be able to enforce a weed ticket against the property if it becomes an issue. So is it a frequent problem? No, because most people mow it. But same for normal property maintenance standards. Most of the people comply.
I would say if they're not mowing that, they're not mowing their lawn, probably. Odds are.
That's what I'm guessing.
For the most part, yes, but there have been issues in the past.
Go ahead, Diane.
Well, I would just like to say that ironically, I have heard this complaint before from someone, and it's not because it's the parkway, but it's not his property, but it's on a hill, and it's very difficult for him to mow. And that would be that would be the only exception that I could see that someone wouldn't want to do it, because it's hard. He's older and he has a hard time pushing that mower up on the hill. I mean, so yeah, I have actually heard that complaint before.
So let's give him a ticket, because he's not complying with the ordinance.
Right, and so, I mean, that, I haven't ever heard anybody complain about it other than that, and there's a specific reason.
So if everybody listens to the minutes of this meeting, everybody in Yorkville, and they decide to rebel and not cut that grass, who's going to cut the grass?
We are.
But that's an illogical argument. Well, if they don't cut it, then we're stuck with it, so let's make them do it. Making them do it
Well,
is
I'm not
just
saying
not
we're going to make them
inherently
do it, but
right.
then who's going to do it?
Well, if it's city property, then I guess the city will have to.
So Eric, Skies will have to get out there and mow the lawn. I'm just saying, everybody ever has a little rebellion now.
Well, since we're on the subject, are we required to have grass in our parkway? What if I want to grass or flowers?
Yeah, that's what I,
Well, just put bike paths all over the place. Well, I think it's a legitimate issue to discuss.
Different ground covers and plants that would be allowed within the parkway, subject to zoning, building code restrictions, and various other codes.
Okay, but that could be a problem. I have someone in my neighborhood, it is on his property, and he thinks it looks good, that's a wildflower garden. And you can't even, but you can't even walk out on the sidewalk. So could he put the wild garden flower, could it actually, it has kind of extended and seeded over to the parkway. So then you'd be walking, I'm serious, they're wildflowers, they're echinacea, whatever, all.
that particular person was the first reason this came up.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about.
She's got a yes vote.
Well, but you know,
I know exactly where you're going.
honestly, when you walk down the sidewalk, you cannot put two people down because of it. So if he wanted to put that in the parkway and it's not mowed.
In that case, you could not because of the site distance. That's why it is not in the parkway at this time, is because it impeded the site distance.
There is also a height restriction in the parkway as well, which would prohibit that. You can plant it fully, but there's a restriction. And this extends beyond just residential properties. It goes to the commercial properties, which we have some with very large parkways that I'm sure they would willingly not maintain it because they're backsides of buildings. They'd rather the city maintain it for them because they know we would. and send them a bill. And then we also have other larger tracts of land that are incorporated into the city that are not maintained as well, which are periodically assessed. Some of them are mowed by us and some of them are actually fine. So it's not just the residential, but it's larger issues. And Eric did mention that the site distances at corners do become a problem on those undeveloped but incorporated areas.
Anyone else?
Clearly a violation of the 13th Amendment.
Nothing else, roll call, please.
Lewis,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Nay.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Wilczewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Peters.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I thought it was a good argument, Carla.
Good discussion.
Just like court, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
All right, no other committee reports. Moving on to Park Board. I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving park rental, athletic field, and tournament reservation applications and policies, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Lewis,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Wilczewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Peters.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving a license extension agreement with Ginger and Soul, Inc., 131 East Hydraulic Avenue, Unit C, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Wilczewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Peters.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the park board recommendation to publish notice of sale for the downtown caboose.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions?
Woo-hoo.
Yes. I have a comment.
Why do we need to maintain it?
No. Let's have the citizens maintain it. No. I've been asking for this thing to be sold for 6 years. So thank God we finally have this going up for sale. So, complete waste of taxpayer money when it was purchased. I can't stress that enough. So I'm glad to see it go. I'm sure we're gonna take a big loss on it, and frankly, they move it, it's gonna cost money to move it. I don't care what we get for it. Just have them move it, and they can pay for the move, and they can have it, frankly.
All right, a handshake deal, they have it sold for $5,000, and it never came through.
So, do we have someone interested that we know of, or is that, because I thought we were gonna do this a long time ago.
Yeah, we've had several people interested in it over the years, and then what happens is they do the due diligence on the logistics of the moving and the cost of it, and they get scared off. So we have actually posted this for sale when I was Parks and Recreation Director years ago. So this isn't our first crack at it, so hopefully this time it's successful.
Roll call, please.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Wilczewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Passes.
Okay, next under Planning and Zoning Commission, we have the first reading of our updated comprehensive plan. And we have a gentleman from Lakota Group that's going to give us a little presentation.
Mayor, Alderman, my name is Nick Calvin, I'm with the Lakota Group. It's a pleasure to be here again to give you an overview of the comprehensive plan update. And I know this has been, it's been a 2-year process. We're at the very end. And what I want to present tonight is just an overview. I promised Christy I would need 10 minutes. It might be 12 minutes, but we'll keep it under 10 minutes. And so what I will present tonight is a highlight, sort of the highlights of the comprehensive plan. I do want to apologize. When we sent out the version last week, page 34 and 35 were missing a couple maps, so we sent out the version today. So they've actually provided a printout of those missing maps, so we apologize. When we sent it last week, somehow they disappeared in cyberspace, and we used that. We also have, oh, thank you, Mark. We also have, is this on? Yeah. Okay. We also have an executive summary that highlights the key strategies in the plan, and also the vision statement and key issues, along with the future land use map, which is the centerpiece of this plan update. So, let's see if we get this right. Let's see. Oops. Oops, sorry about this. Okay. Why the plan update? Well, first, it's been since 2008 since the last plan has been prepared, and obviously a lot has happened since 2008. Yorkville is different. A lot of communities are different since 2008, since the the recession that we had nationwide. So many communities around the Chicago area are updating their comprehensive plans. There's a different economy. We're also taking into account that the Prairie Parkway is not going to be built. So those were the two really primary factors of really kind of taking a look at the comprehensive plan one more time and updating it to current economic conditions. This plan looks ahead about 10 years, so the time horizon is looking towards 2026. And we want to undertake this process to establish some new planning priorities for the community. So those were the main focus of the comprehensive plan. Oops, sorry. Not sure I've got this in the right mode. Let's see.
The square with the two arrows going outward.
Oops.
That should be.
Oh, let's see. Sorry about that. Here we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, sorry about that. Not sure what's going on here. Let's see. Just not sure why it's not turning. That's all. Oops. Yeah, oh, there we go, finally, yeah, and into it. Sorry about that. Okay. It's also a good planning practice to update your plan every 5 to 10 years. So we have communities that haven't updated their plan in 30 years. So Yorkville is doing really well and actually taking a look at its planning processes over these 5 to 10 years. Oh, go to the next slide. Oops. Thank you. There, okay. Yeah, there we go. We were, the Lakota group, we were the project managers for the comprehensive plan. We were assisted by 2 firms. The other firm is Goodman Williams Group, which worked on the market assessment and the economic development components of the comprehensive plan. And then the other firm was T.Y. Lynn International, which looked at the transportation, infrastructure, and growth management issues. This is the planning process. We're at the very end. We had a 2-year process. There were 3 different phases to the process. There you go. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right. The comprehensive plan is divided into 2 parts. One is what we call setting the stage. It's where we kind of looked at all the economic development data, the land use trends, what was happening in Yorkville. It was also a time where we conducted a community engagement process where we talked with many different stakeholders, including representatives from the city departments, developers, downtown property owners, and so forth. And so during that process, we came up with what was called the State of the City report, which we delivered in 2014. And then the second part of the plan is the comprehensive plan, and that's where we have several different chapters. There's a chapter overall on land use, downtown, in your commercial areas, your residential areas, and what we call community systems, which is your infrastructure, your parks, and so forth. And then we also took a look at two corridors, El Domain Road and Route 47, and then we have a chapter on implementation. Next. The community engagement process, as I've said, during the first phase, we had an extensive interview process with many different stakeholders. But beyond phase one and into phase two, where we developed the plan, we conducted several different workshops. And we also had a project website and a couple of online surveys that were very well responded to by the community. So we feel that we've garnered very good community support and input into this plan. I'm not going to go into the State of the City part or the setting the stage part. There's a lot of information in there. I do have to say and compliment the city on your GIS systems and your data collection that you've done in-house. It allowed us to really understand what was happening in your residential areas, your commercial areas. It allowed us to get some fine-grained analysis of what was happening in your community. So a lot of that information was very helpful. But the issues on this slide really came to the surface, especially after we talked to the community. Downtown being very important. It's time to revitalize downtown. The overall character, visual appearance of the community, and how do we handle growth. So those are really kind of the top three issues. The other issues we feel were pretty important in terms of diversifying the housing stock. Look at your unincorporated areas. How do we fill out the remaining commercial developments in the community? And then how do we improve the transportation network? The plan kind of starts with the vision statement, and that's sort of the ultimate goal, and it summarizes where we want to go as a community in 10 years. And so I'm not going to read the vision statement. It is in the executive summary as well. But the highlights, one is really diversifying your land uses. Revitalizing downtown was really big. And then undertaking sustainable residential development. As we know, since 2008, the recession had a great impact on the development of the community. So how do we look at your subdivisions and encourage new development, and how do we look at subdivisions that are not developing? The last thing, in terms of one thing that we really call out throughout the plan is place make Yorkville. One thing we heard quite a lot from community residents is that even though they live in a subdivision, they don't necessarily associate themselves living in Yorkville. And so what we wanted to try to do is try to have some urban design recommendations, placemaking, that would allow people to understand and feel that they belong in Yorkville rather than just a subdivision. This is the future land use map, and I'm not going to go into any great detail. It hasn't changed too much from the 2008 land use plan. We do take into account, you can't see very well, but let me see if the pointer's working. I'm not sure if it does or not. But we do take into account two areas on the north side of Yorkville where, oh, there we go, top one. There you go, two areas over here where potentially transit-oriented development could happen. An area to the east of Route 47 along Green Road, and then further to the west, a site that was determined in its 2008 plan. So we have two sites that we're considering for future transit-oriented development station or a future metro station. The other thing with the future land use map is we do consolidate some commercial areas along 47. And then another change is that we are allowing a little bit higher density residential to happen near your commercial areas along 34 and Route 47. the comprehensive plan describes land use in detail in terms of specific land use categories. We've identified, I believe, 16 different land use categories, and they're all summarized in the matrix in the comprehensive plan, starting on page 85. So if you look at that matrix, you look at a specific land use category, it will tell you the ideal or the optimal types of development that should happen in each of these categories, along with some pictures that sort of demonstrate the type of development that should happen. As I've said, the comprehensive plan really focuses on downtown. That was an issue that we heard consistently throughout the process. Now, I'm not going to go through this strategy map in detail, but one of the overall arching strategies for the downtown, obviously because of the expansion of Illinois Route 47 through the downtown, is to reorient the downtown east and west along Vine Amen and Hydraulic Street. We believe there are opportunities to encourage new development there, opportunities to provide some streetscape improvements and pedestrian improvements, and expand the feel of the downtown. A couple of other things that we're pointing out, another two big strategies for the downtown is expanding the riverfront park, both east and west, and the trail, and encouraging some additional development off to the west where we would expand residential and commercial opportunities in that area. We did take a close look at some of the other commercial areas, and we feel that this should be a priority, is really filling out these commercial areas rather than expanding to new ones. If you can go on, Bert. We did take a look along Route 47 near Route 71 and potential parcels for commercial development, namely a grocery store development. So we have a couple of scenarios of how grocery store could be developed. And up north, we believe, at least in the 10-year timeframe of this plan, is that commercial development could go up to Galena Road. And this is an area where some potential sort of entertainment or restaurant or small-scale neighborhood retail can take place, serving some of the adjacent subdivisions, and then expanding some park or recreation space near the Raging Waves Water Park. We did take a look at some of your industrial areas, and we're not recommending in this plan any expansion of the industrial areas, although we took a look at some land near the Fox Industrial Park as a potential expansion at some point in the future. Yeah, go to the next one. So this is at Route 47 and 71. This could be a potential expansion for industrial in the future, or an industrial park that would be similar to other industrial parks in Yorkville. In the residential areas, I'm not going to get into too much detail. You see the areas there that are kind of in purple. Those are the TOD, transit-oriented development zones, where sometime in the future, we don't know, depending on the metro feasibility study that's taking place, where the metro station could occur, but if it does occur, these are opportunities to plan for some new residential and some new commercial. The areas that are highlighted kind of in yellow are areas where we would continue to encourage some more suburban type of residential development. The areas in green, we would encourage some larger lot residential to happen, or estate residential, or conservation subdivisions, as we discussed in the comprehensive plan. This is a map that kind of shows, in the plan, we break down all the subdivision development that have happened since over the last 20 years, and we broke them down into tiers. Tier 1 are subdivisions that are almost ready to be completed, and that's where a focus of facilitating the completion of a subdivision should happen in Tier 1. Next. In Tier 4, which is the last group of subdivisions, these are subdivisions that have not been platted nor entitled. And so these are probably areas where we don't recommend this in the plan, but we do suggest that at some point the city look at changing the land use in these areas, because we don't believe, at least in the 10 years from now, at least in the 10-year time frame, that they will be developed as residential. The demand is not there for that over the 10 years. Next. In terms of community infrastructure, I think just to highlight a few issues. One issue is we heard a lot from community residents about completing the bike path system. And in the 2008 plan, the bike path system was heavily reliant on subdivisions being developed and having developers install those trails so that we could have an expanded trail system. Given that we're going to have slower incremental residential growth, the likelihood of having that large bike system being developed is probably unlikely. So one of the things that we recommend in the plan is really looking at some on-street bicycle path connections. Another topic is there are a lot of subdivisions that are being developed outside of your municipal boundaries. And so there are a number of subdivisions that are less than 60 acres. And I bring that up, we highlight that in the plan because as a city, you can annex those areas. Other subdivisions that are being developed in the county are within your extraterritorial jurisdiction. Somewhere down the line, even beyond the timeframe of this comprehensive plan, Yorkville is probably going to grow around those subdivisions. And so we do recommend that the city develop an annexation policy for those subdivisions so that you can encourage them to follow your subdivision regulations. Okay. And then last but not least, in terms of growth, growth management, we do recommend that boundary agreements be developed with Joliet and Millbrook. We think that those are important. The other thing too is you may want to consider, you see that Yorkville, your planning area is big, and that's because you were considering the Prairie Parkway to be developed at some point. We don't think the Prairie Parkway will be developed. So we recommend that you look at your planning area, maybe even shrinking that a little bit more to your 1.5 mile extraterritorial jurisdiction area. Parks, we have a number of recommendations on parks. I already mentioned about expanding riverfront, Bicentennial Riverfront Park as a major park improvement. We also recommend updating your Parks and Recreation Master Plan, considering the establishment of a park district at some time in the future in order to be able to manage and install additional amenity improvements to your parks at some point. We did take a look at your corridors, and this is just a sample image from the plan of Route 47 south, extending south from the Fox River. And the one probably salient point in the corridors that we recommend is making sure that you concentrate certain uses in certain areas. Also doing some urban design and gateway improvements. And probably the signature improvement that we show here is a green buffer or green setback. One of the things, as I mentioned, one thing that we heard loud and clear from residents is that they wanted to maintain the small town character. It's why they moved to Yorkville in the first place. So in order to improve the urban design, placemake Yorkville, as I've mentioned, we recommended this green buffer be extended from certain areas along 47 and in El Domain Road. And that green buffer can be anywhere from 5 to 10, 20 feet that you can encourage that to be maintained. You can install fencing or something like that to be able to provide that sense of placemaking and sense of place. And last but not least, the plan, and I'm not going to get into any great detail, we talked a lot about an implementation, about funding, some potential code changes, some new zoning tools that could be applied, streetscape and urban design improvements, and gateways and things like that. I'm not going to go into great detail on this, so I'll probably skip this one. I mentioned earlier about how important placemaking is, and one way in which to bind the community together that we thought it would be important to have a consistent wayfinding and gateway system. And we do have a couple of samples of that in the comprehensive plan about installing something more comprehensive that identifies Yorkville. There's also opportunities to do public art in the downtown as a way to attract people to the downtown. We do have an image of potential streetscape improvements, and in the plan, we do talk about pedestrian improvements in certain locations in Yorkville. We think downtown would be a great start to be able to provide some new streets or special paving, lighting, or placemaking elements that would help people understand or identify downtown Yorkville. And so undertaking some downtown streetscape improvements would be important. And last but not least, We do think, it's always a good practice to take a look at this plan 5 years, 10 years from now and see where you're at. And to use the comprehensive plan, most importantly, for capital improvements planning. So as we recommend things like wayfinding or streetscape improvements or pedestrian improvements, trying to incorporate some of those aspects into your annual capital improvements planning would be important. And that's it. Thanks, Mark.
Any questions from the city council? Yes.
The point about addressing the annexation issues, I know that was one of my favorite topics, that and the wastewater. That makes me sound pretty creepy, so I apologize in advance. But as far as the annexation process that you're describing that you think that we should kind of move towards, I understand that each pack or pocket of community that you end up force annexing will want to decapitate me, but at the same time, explaining the value of being a member of the city of Yorkville versus being unincorporated Kendall County, is that part of, because when you mentioned coming up with a plan to address those things, when there's 80,000 pockets of people who get city services but don't pay city taxes, is that what you're describing? Like, you're describing the way to describe the way to actually do it? That's the part that's confusing to me, because if I go to Bart and say, hey, we should talk about annexation, he does it first, he does the, then he does the, we should address how to go about doing that. I guess that's, since you've done this before, is there a, like, I don't want to say script, because that makes it sound easy, but is there a path to annexation that is kind of available in the comprehensive plan, or something you can kind of direct us towards? Because that, to me, seems the most huge. He's doing that, see that face? That's the face I'm talking about.
There's no easy answer to that. It is trying to understand what areas you think would be open to annexation, simply because they would want this, city services, or they would want to be, there's probably different advantages to it for specific neighborhood or area that would want to be part of the city of Yorkville. So it's just, you have to understand where those areas are at first, and then start the discussions with them. It's probably going to be two ways usually. There are going to be people that are going to come to you for annexation, and then it's going to be the other way around. There are probably areas you want to annex simply because you know you're going to surround them at some point in the future.
Well, I'm just looking at the map, all of those pockets,
Right.
we're pretty much already surrounding the majority, at least in my uneducated opinion.
Right.
It looks like we're 80% of us, or no, 70% of us are plowing the roads for 100% of us. It's just, it's a wacky way to look at a map, and I understand that I wasn't here 100 years ago to set the tone, but if I was, I would have said, don't do that.
Right.
Or cabooses.
Right. I think our thought pattern was, and I should have stressed this in my presentation, is that rather than really kind of looking towards growing in new areas, it's kind of looking around Yorkville right now and seeing where areas where you can annex, would make more sense. We're kind of looking inward in this plan. So
It's kind of like advertising to your currently existing client base. So we say we have 17,000 people that live here. Does that include all the people that live in the unincorporated parts of? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, we probably got 25,000 people here. We don't need a home rule referendum. We already are 25,000 people. That's the wacky thing about it. So they're going, so we only count the people that pay city taxes as residents of Yorkville. Yet there's more than 25,000 people in that 80 freaking mile planning area. Like, it seems like we're shooting for the moon as far as planning, yet we don't even have the people that live inside of the city limits of Yorkville counted as residents of Yorkville.
Yeah.
That's wacky, right? Like, I'm not the only one just kind of talking to myself, like, that's weird.
yeah,
Okay.
it's.
That's wacky. You're doing that basically.
I think the other thing we stressed in that part of the plan too is really working with Kendall County so that you can, when they have developers coming to them, having them sort of encourage, subdivision going to be developed right next to Yorkville to come into Yorkville. Simply because you want to make sure that they're consistent with your subdivision development codes. You know, so that when you go around them, they're not going to be, you know, a different area that looks different, has different level of amenities and development patterns that's not consistent with what you're trying to do here in Yorkville.
I think other little subdivisions, once our aquifer starts going dry and their wells start running up.
I don't know.
Well, that's,
Then like you're glad to do it right now.
Exactly.
I don't want our tax money.
big picture, they're all gonna be drinking out of the same hole. So if we start pulling from the river, it's kind of like, we already have the ability, like, we probably already have the numbers to be able to borrow out for 40 years. And, yeah, it just blows my mind that we're already here. Like, Lynn keeps talking about rooftops. There's already rooftops, they're here, they're just not here, which is, again, wacky. So, yeah, it's like, we keep on reminding ourselves that this is what we need. We need to be home rule so that we can basically plan for the future, borrow money out a little bit farther, borrow money that will last the same length as the infrastructure that we want to invest in. Yet those people already live here. So it's just, I have a hard time with that.
Well, the problem is the county doesn't make them maintain their parkways. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So what's the plan? We're gonna adopt this in 2 weeks?
Yes, the plan is to give the public another opportunity.
Okay, so we have one more public hearing, or just here?
Just here.
Okay. So all public hearings, everything's done, we can adopt this in 2 weeks?
Yes, we have the public hearing August the 10th. Plan and zoning.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next I'll entertain a resolution recommending denial and filing of a written protest to the proposed rezoning request of petition number 16-22 for the property at 790 Alderman Road in Bristol Township.
Okay, so the planning and zoning.
We need a motion to the second first.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All yours, Chris.
Okay, thank you. The planning and zoning commission reviewed this item at their August 10th meeting. The issue here is the property is currently in violation of county regulations for an agricultural rezoned property. This was brought to the county's attention, and then the petitioner requested rezoning as manufacturing. Our current 2008 comprehensive plan does envision this area for manufacturing, but the proposed adopted comprehensive plan sees it as a state large subdivision residential. In addition, there are requests from the petitioner at the county level to seek variance to not pave the surface. They're running a towing and truck repair operation here, and they're going to be storing vehicles on site. They don't want to fence off the property as well. With that in mind, staff had recommended an objection to this proposal, and the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted a more formal objection from the city council. So in your packet, there is a resolution that is formally objecting to this petition. This petition won't be heard by Kendall County until late October. It's been put on that. We have time to present our objection before they make action.
Any comments, questions? Yes, sir.
I agree with all your objections. Like, just the two things that were the most glaring were the, obviously, not paving an area where you're gonna be having leaky trucks. And then not fencing in an area with stuff like that. Since I do live kind of in that direction, we have a lot of the animals that jump out, so I just kind of imagine it. Now that Alderman Road, you can only go 45 miles an hour, but I've seen vehicles go as fast as 65 miles an hour. Not that I would ever do that, but that road is now super fast, just like downtown 47, if you've ever been on that road. So the fact that they're gonna have all of these places for large animals to hide, I agree with you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Keeley,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Hot,
Aye.
Ritters,
Aye.
Turles,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkowski.
Aye.
Passes.
Do city clerk's report? Any community and liaison reports? Staff reports?
Just one, Your Honor, we have Hometown Days coming up next weekend. And I'll turn it over to Tim because he's got a little bit of a schedule of events for you.
Yes, Hometown Days is next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Labor Day weekend. There's a schedule of events on the Facebook page, on the city website of all the activities we have going on all next weekend. Biggest thing probably new is we are working with the library on a Book It 5K run, trying to fundraise for the library this year. Juniors Women's Craft Show. We do have the dog competition, Ultimate Air Dogs, coming back. So it should be a great time all next weekend. Hopefully we have good weather.
All right. Yes, we're going to have good weather. You're welcome. Okay, any other staff reports? Thank you, Tim. Additional business? Yes, sir.
Just have one. I noticed as I was coming through town today that the pedestrian crossing signs are in place at 47 in Main. Talking with Eric, they're not fully activated, but they will be soon. So, Larry, thank you for pushing hard for making that one happen, and the Public Works Committee and staff for making that reality. Thank you.
Anyone else? No executive session. Do we have any citizen comments? Anyone? Going once? Okay. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I was a resident at City Center Apartments. I'm Trisha Felino at currently at City Center Apartments. I'm coming here today, I guess, to go on about the mold problem that is at City Center Apartments. It's previously growing on my couch. I threw half of my section out because it's on the bottom of my couch. It is also growing on my TV. I've got an older TV with the speaker at the bottom, and it's growing up the speaker. Jim came in and cleaned it with Otoband and said if it comes back, just use that. It's been maybe a week or so, and it's right back on my couch. I've got 3 little children, and I've asked to get this problem resolved, and I just wanted to bring that up because it's out of control. It's in like everybody's apartment. So, see? I'm in unit D6. My only comment is I just want to say thanks for having the testing done. Obviously, I've had an opportunity to review the report myself and found that there was Stachybotrys in my apartment, which is the black toxic mold. I really appreciate you finding that out. It definitely does help my doctors as far as treatment goes. My only concern is if you found it in my apartment, I think I've mentioned this before, that what you can't see, you obviously can smell in those units. The damaged water, building materials that you can't see behind the walls or in the ceiling. Unfortunately, another apartment in A1, A2, both had mold growing up the wall just like mine in the closet. Unfortunately, those units were not tested. My fear is that Stachybotrys is all throughout those buildings, not just my unit. That is my comment, my concern. I'm concerned about the children that currently still reside there and the future tenants that potentially will live there. Obviously, we know black mold causes major mold sickness in children, especially people who are immune compromised. I have asthma. I moved in there with asthma. So, but I just wanted to state that. But I really wanted to say thank you very much for taking this very seriously. I'm hoping that we can come to some kind of resolution for the tenants there and future tenants. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizen comments? Yes, sir. Please state your name for the record.
Jim Markby, owner and operator of City Center Apartments. And I want to thank the City Council and members of the staff for the opportunity to speak about this important issue. We have been members of the Yorkville business community for over a decade, and we provide affordable quality housing for folks. And through this process, we've been very cooperative with the city and also very patient, and again, very important process to go through. You know, you've heard tonight and other evenings from some of our residents, and but not much from us. And so I just wanted to take this brief moment to comment on those things. These commentaries by our residents have been emotional and, in fairness, speculative and not really based on data. And if I can bring to mind a summary that's summarize what's taken place thus far, there's been two reports and scientific studies done by expert firms, one commissioned by our company and the other by the city, Perception Environmental in our case and Midwest Environmental in the city's case. The summary of those reports is parallel, and to quote a couple of the summary lines from each, causes of the microbial growth is due to hygienically unclean functional living space. The other saying due to lack of good housekeeping practices. We have many residents that are very happy at City Center, many who have been with us since we took over in 2010 at that location. And I invite all of you, any of you, to come and for a tour of the property, look at our product. We're very proud of it. It's difficult to listen to some of the testimonial here, and nowhere in any of those reports is the word toxic used, by the way. So I'm not a physician, and I wouldn't try to be. I just know that there are people that have sensitivity to mold, of course. But again, I look forward to continuing our relationship in Yorkville, in the business community, and I also look forward to the city's conclusions as you guys close in on that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Rick in the room.